My name is Stephanie, and I'm a drag king named Aloysius D. Use 3 words to describe drag. I would say entertaining and political. 1, because I think all drag makes a political statement. And I think the most important of the 3 words is the word and, because drag can be many, many different things. And every time you try and pin down exactly what it should be, there will always be someone out there breaking that definition and creating amazing drag. What is drag? Drag is any kind of performance that exaggerates a certain kind of gender norm. A lot of us, like what we're taught about gender, a lot of it is based on different actions and different ways we wear our clothes and hair. Drag is a way of confronting that, making fun of that, sometimes elevating it. I'm both a drag king and a drag queen. I sometimes perform as a masculine character called Aloysius D. And I also perform as a drag queen, a very feminine character called Polyamory. I chose to do both, I think, just because I wanted to explore different drag scenes and different ways of moving. The different kinds of drag, I'd say very generally, there's drag queens, which are people who exaggerate sort of feminine mannerisms, hairstyles and clothes and anything else you can think of. Drag kings, so as anyone who exaggerates sort of very masculine mannerisms, hair, makeup. There's also non-binary drag, which is sort of people who mix everything up. How did you first get to know of drag? I think what pulled me in first was watching drag kings on stage for the first time. I think it's just really powerful getting to see people dress as really sort of masculine. It's the first time I really did drag. I was in London and I was like acting as this character, and so I just wore like a hat and a suit, and I realized I was free to basically play this other douchebag character. Then I came back to Singapore and I did a similar thing. So I played this character who was like an asshole Chinese guy who was very pompous, and I called him Aloysius Chan. Then I had a chance to join this burlesque group, and I knew that I wanted to be a drag king on stage. So I sort of evolved that a little bit to be this like douchebag called Aloysius D. And that was sort of my first foray into being a drag king. When I started doing, say, burlesque as a drag king, I didn't really tell my family. I didn't really want them to know, especially because of the nature of it. I also did not really tell my friends about drag. I was very self-conscious, I think, for a long time. I do have friends who are like really supportive. They've come to shows, and some have like helped to bring costumes to shows. My sister has come and supported me as well. It's been great. Now I'm going to transform into Aloysius. For drag king stuff, I don't take as long. It could be anywhere from like an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. There's like this bone, there's like this sort of juts out just above your eyebrow. So you want to emphasize this sort of like part of the skull. The thing about masculine makeup is that you can exaggerate them. I have an undercut, so sometimes I'll like shave my hair myself and I'll use the clippings to like make a beard. As a drag king, what I'll do is I will tape down my breasts. I would say that is the more painful part. I'm very lucky that like my boobs are not that big, they're quite small, so it only takes like almost 1 roll to flatten them. If I had more time, I would contour my chest as well. But that basically, for me, it takes as long as my face, if not longer. And also learning how maybe men move to create just like an illusion. Finally, like learning about makeup and actually every aspect of it just requires lots and lots of practice. One of my more recent shows. It was inspired actually because I found this fly mask. I found this fly mask in a costume shop and I was just like, I need to get this and I need to create an item around this. And so I created this whole item where I'm a mad scientist, and it involves me going from scientist in a lab coat to turning into a fly. I would say the fun part is having the concept and just like listening to songs and just like putting together weird combinations of songs to see what might surprise people. How do you think the general public view drag? We have Kuma, who I would say is like the most famous drag queen, and I feel like a lot of the older generation, our parents, grandparents, all love him. He's definitely made the public more accepting of drag queens as artists and drag as an art form, but I still feel there's a large group of people who are still quite conservative. People still have a hard time accepting them as like maybe people in everyday life. People still have to hide the fact that they do drag from their work. There's a lot of maybe disgust. People think that they're maybe very trashy. I think people are very threatened at the idea of a man wanting to do things that women do. Are there any differences between how drag kings and drag queens are treated? In Singapore, the biggest difference is that people have heard of drag queens, they haven't heard of drag kings. People just are not really sure what a drag king performance might look like. Has doing drag changed your life? I would say yes, in the sense that it's made me a much more confident person. And I think it's also made me much more comfortable with experimenting with like clothes and makeup. I've been performing poetry and stand-up for about 12 years now. I'd say nothing can compare to like the fear you get when you are in drag about to go on stage. My dream would be to maybe create more of like a drag king scene in Singapore, at least like a burlesque and like cabaret kind of scene.
Do you have anything to say to naysayers?
I would say they just need to open their minds more, accept different points of view, and accept that a large number of people do get a lot of joy from this art form.